Okay, welcome to part 3 of CSS. What I'm going to do today is add some new tags, new elements. For example, I want to, here's the code we're working with. And if I look over here to the web page that it's created, refresh it just to make sure. And just to show you, this information here is just our style. And if I was to delete that style and save it, and refresh, we're back to this blah web page. Alright, so I'm going to undo, save it again, and refresh. Okay, so what I want to add today is some things called class selectors. And what that is if I was to go in here and I wanted to define an area. For example, I want to set something where, I want my navigation to look a little bit better. Alright, this is my menu bar. And rather than change all information for all paragraphs or all links or whatever, I want to set my navigation. Alright, so I'm going to go in here and I'm going to call it .nav for lack of a better term. And I will begin my tool here. And what the dot means is that the letters following this are a class ID. So I can name it whatever. I could have called it Bob. So I'm going to go in here and nav font weight bold. So I'm going to have that be bold, and then I'm going to go over here and font size 1.25 and then emphasis. All right, and then I want to end that element. All right, so if I was to go over here and refresh now, let me go make sure I save this. Go refresh. Nothing has changed. And the reason is because I haven't told my HTML that this is called nav yet. I said this is what we're going to do with nav. But if I go down here and this is my nav area, I need to add inside here, inside my paragraph, class equals nav. Alright, and that's all I basically am doing. Alright, so now anything inside this paragraph is called nav. And if I go and I refresh, my nav is different. Alright, so the cool thing about this is I can go in and I can make this, just 1, for example. And anything in my page that had nav would be smaller. Alright, so I'm going to go and make it back where it was, save it, and go refresh. And I really like the ability to change all of my styles on my page in one little section. And if you have been doing HTML for any time, you'll know that it can be such a pain to have to go through and find every little piece to change, every code, every color, and then someone will want a color change. Can we make the backgrounds yellow? And then you have to go in every single page and make those changes. Alright, so right now, the way it stands, we would still have to make all the changes within this page because this is an embedded style sheet. This is a style sheet inside of an HTML document. However, we could just copy and paste this into our other documents. But what we're going to be doing after this tutorial, probably part 4, is doing external style sheets. And that means instead of having this in, changing every page, we'll be linking to it from another page. Alright, so let's go ahead and move to the next piece here, which is called an ID selector. And an ID selector works almost exactly like the class selector. The ID selector is really if you want to have something only to one specific area. So for example, we have nav here, which, that works great, but we could also have a nav down here, maybe another menu for other services, or, down further we might even have, click here for different email contacts or something, and we could have all of our nav things the same. But a ID selector is kind of defined for one area. So for example, I'm going to call mine footer. Alright, and I'm going to get my stuff a little bit off here, but that's okay. Font size 0.75 emphasis, and I'm going to just keep it standard here. Font style italic, and I'll just go ahead and close it on the same spot. Alright, and again, if I save this and refresh, nothing should happen. good, because I haven't specified anything yet. I have to actually go down now and tell my computer, or tell my HTML, where the footer is. So if I go down and find my footer, here we go, and you see I have my copy, and this produces the little copyright symbol. But inside this paragraph, I'm going to put ID equals footer. Alright, and so if I was to save this now and refresh, you see that my footer is different. Alright, and again, this is great because you can keep your page consistent. Use the same style sheet for every page, and users aren't going to feel like they're looking at something people threw together. Alright, so let's look back up here, and we have a class tag and an ID tag. The only difference between the two really is the period versus the pound sign, and they're pretty easy to do. If I was to go into another paragraph and I said ID equals footer here, let me save this here. When I go refresh here, this is going to use the exact same code, which obviously we don't want because it's not a footer. And don't get lazy and try to use your class or ID elements in different spots. Go ahead and make a new one. You might want to have paragraph intro or p intro or something as your ID or class tag. That way, if you decide later on you want your footer to look different or to have a a background color or something, it's not going to mess with all of your different elements. Alright. Okay, another thing that we should look at here is having our menu here set up as a paragraph. It's really not a paragraph. So what we can do is we can use a div instead of a paragraph. And instead of ending with paragraph, obviously we would end with div. Alright. Div is just another way of having a section that separates itself from the rest of the document with a space above and a space below. So for example, if I go ahead and save this and then jump over here and refresh, it looks the same, alright, even though we don't have a paragraph anymore. Alright, and now what's good about this is not that it looks any different, but that we're using more proper semantics. And that'll mean later on, if things do kind of change in the internet with the accepted code, this will be more web ready. Alright, so again, hopefully it'll work perfectly. The next thing is the span element. Span is similar in look function to the div command or element, except that it just means that the area inside that code is not physically separated from other areas using line breaks. There's no break before and a break after. Alright, so to illustrate this, I'm going to jump back into my style, and I'm going to add a new ID or class, and I'll call it company. And I'm going to put font, weight, bold, font family, Georgia, or Times New Roman if I can't have Georgia, and then serif if I can't have either. And then, whoops, font, size, 1.25, emphasis. And then I have to remember to close my tag. Alright, now also with lining these tags up like this, it helps me to remember that something is open or closed. Alright, so anyway, I'm going to go ahead and save this, and it shouldn't change anything here. And I don't really want to change my header company name. I want to change this company name. Alright, so that's hopefully what you'll be seeing change. Alright, let's jump back here. And so down here in the paragraph, I'm going to put a span class equals company. Okay, and in that there. And then I want to end my span after this. So I'm going to end span. So you see that if I had used a div, it would have put a break before and a break after. And I want to do this inline. Alright, so if I go save and refresh, Griffith Web Design will take business customers, blah, blah, blah. All right, so by doing this inline, I can then change my styles up here for anything that, anytime it ever uses the company name, you know, maybe it goes to just one emphasis, and I can refresh. And so anytime it uses that, it'll just change it. All right, hopefully that makes sense. And what I would do now is experiment a little bit with these codes. You know, try changing your background color or your header colors, or make the size a little bit different. Like for example, maybe we might make this 150. Maybe change the color. Well, let's not change the colors here. The sizes, the fonts. You know, maybe make the paragraph fonts even smaller. You know, do whatever you can. Just kind of play with it, and then go and refresh and see how things are different. All right. So sometimes you might want to adjust things so that it fits on one standard browser page. But you know, I have my resolution set to 800 by 600 now, so I can do these recordings. So it's going to be a little bit different on different screens. All right. In the next part of the CSS series, part 4, I will be doing external style sheets. So I hope you stick around for it. Thank you very much.